Hi everyone, and welcome to today's program. A special segment brought to you in honor of the life and legacy of Urge Fikadu Dinagde, who unexpectedly passed away on the 4th of December 2023. My name is Soriti Kadir, your host, and it is with a heavy heart that I present this program today, as Urge was to me, as she was to so many people, a great friend, mentor, and comrade. At the same time, it is a great honor to be able to say that I got to know Urge and that I got to bear witness to her impact on people and communities, some of which you will hear about today. A little bit about Urge before I introduce our guests and I pass it on to them to share about who she was to them and who they witnessed her to be in her life, in her work, and in her community. Urge Fikadu Dinagde was born on the 13th of December 1987 to father Fikadu Dinagde, who was born in Wanki-Gopo, and her mother Almaz Tasisa Fufi, who was born in the town of Mendi in Western Oromia. She completed her primary school education at Clayton Secondary School, her high school education at Colester College, after which she went on to complete 2 university degrees. A double bachelor's in social work and health science at Monash University, and a business administration master's degree, majoring in leadership and innovation, which she completed with a distinction from the University of Canberra. From 2009, she worked in the Department of Families, Fairness and Housing, where she held a variety of leadership positions over the last 4 years. A recipient of multiple awards for her professional and vast volunteer work, Urge was recognized as amongst the top 50 women in the public sector in 2022 by the Institute of Public Administration Australia. She was also a finalist for the Chief Practitioners Award for her role in her organization's cultural engagement work. In 2016, Urge was also a finalist for Cosmopolitan's Woman of the Year Award in the category of Humanitarian of the Year, recognized for her extensive human rights advocacy and community empowerment work. Urge was also a lead organizer amongst the Oromo diaspora's response efforts to the Oromo protest movement of 2014 to 2018. Developing digital and communication strategies, including masterminding the globally adopted red social media symbol that became a mark of resistance and solidarity across the global Oromo community and across one of the African continent's largest and most successful people's movements in this century. In 2021, Urge founded the Village School Project, where she led a team of volunteers in a mission to make quality education accessible in rural communities in Oromia, with a vision, again, to sustainably build one village school at a time so that communities across Oromia become self-sufficient. Urge was a fierce social justice advocate, a formidable leader, and an embodiment and personification of love, wisdom, and kindness, not just to her community and her nation, but to her close family and her friends. Today, I am joined by 5 women: Merartu Kitila, Angatu Yusuf, and Elilla Daba, 3 friends and adoyes of Urge, adoye loosely meaning in the Oromo context, close women friends in the Oromo culture. Di Ratuvu, Urge's best friend of 19 years and a member of the same church community and a volunteer of the Village School Project. And Toltu Tufa, Urge's childhood friend, fellow community leader, and close confidant. Ladies, I want to take a moment to thank you all so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know this is going to be in no means and in no ways easy, but what I'm going to do now is hand it over to our program's guests, and they will share with us who Urge was to them and who they witnessed her to be to her society, community, and to her nation. Dee, we'll begin with you.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Dee Ratavo. I've been friends with Urge for about 19 years now. So we met at a church community here in Melbourne. Urge to me was a God-given friend. I simply, we moved from a Fijian community church to City Life Church, which is a multicultural church. And I simply just prayed, God, send me somebody that I would journey with and walk with in this thing called life. And he obviously gave Urge. She wasn't just a friend, but she became a sister. And as Oprah Winfrey had a friend, Gail King. Urge was my Gail King. In The Lion King, where Timon had Pumbaa, Urge was my Pumbaa. And in the Bible story of David and Jonathan, she was my Jonathan. And when I mean Jonathan, she was somebody that went through great lengths to protect me, and to, when odds are against me, she stood with me. And, she cried with me, she fought with me, she loved me, and and it was the same both ways. So she wasn't about your status quo or how powerful you were, or none of that mattered. It was, for her, it was doing the right thing. And I've known her to be very humble and very strong too. And so she, like you mentioned before, she did show and demonstrate a true act of kindness for me. And I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be part of life, her life's events, being part of her wedding, bridal shower, the whole, being the MC for her baby shower, and being one of the first to hear about her vision about the village school project. So there've been, birthdays, never-ending birthdays, and and also been a part of co-leading with her with the Future. We called it back then the Future Leaders Life Group, where we led a group of young people from our church community. And so she was so powerful. She had this way of just relating to the young people and connecting with them in such a powerful way. I feel like, especially in our life group, I saw a lot of her character there, and I felt like she was just an amazing leader. She was an amazing leader and a good person to be with.
Thank you, Dee, for sharing, I think, experiences that are really unique to your relationship to Urge from this group, and giving us also a glimpse into another part of her legacy and her life. Marartu, can we hear a little bit from you?
Yeah. Thank you, Dee, for your beautiful words about Urge. Sorry.
Take your time. Take your time. Yeah. I think let's give Marartu a moment. This is not easy. It's really difficult. So as she comes back on screen, Toltu will come to you, and maybe you can share a little bit about Urge with us.
Thank you for having me on the program. This is a conversation I never thought I would be having, to be speaking about someone who I consider as an integral part of my own life's journey. Urge had so many different facets to herself, and I think if I try to put it all together, it's very difficult, but she was a childhood friend. We shared a childhood together. And this is a very hard conversation to have. So you'll have to be patient with me. We were connected from our heritage. We shared similar heritage. We were both of Oromo background. Our fathers migrated to Australia from the same country, and they were very good friends when they arrived in Australia during a time where there were not very many Oromo people at all. And our mothers were also close to one another. It's a well-known fun fact that Urge's mum and my mum wore the same wedding dress. And so the community was small and they were close and they were like family to us. And so we were raised together with very few children. And it's hard to believe, but back in the days there weren't very many. And Urge and Agartu were two sisters who were very close in age. It was myself and my sister Hawa. There was like Aisha, Ali, and Ayantu. There was Yasmin. There was Nujuma. You could count on one hand the number of young girls there were. And so we all grew up together. We shared laughter. We shared adventures. We shared challenges. And then eventually the community grew and our families, started just having other friends and whatnot. But it was in adulthood that our relationship rekindled. And so we rekindled together in terms of our personal connections, in terms of community leadership. We worked alongside each other throughout our passion for the Oromo community. She supported Oromo youth leadership. She was always at the forefront of community activism. And more profoundly, she was the leader of her own projects as well. And so she was the leader of what she initially was the I Can Write My Name initiative and eventually became the Village School Project. And she was one of the biggest advocates for my work with Afan.
Take your time, Dalton. Okay.
Urge. Now, if we were at an Oromo house, they'd tell you to stop crying and to be strong, but I think it's important during these times that we let our emotions flow. And so what I want to share about Urge was that she shared my aspirations. She was motivated. She collaborated with me. And she stood by my side as we shared responsibilities and decisions in terms of mentoring Oromo youth, in terms of advocating for the Oromo community after the killing of Hachalu Hundesa. And she was someone who was also a mentor and a confidant. And in that sense, Urge offered wisdom, guidance and support in what can sometimes be a very lonely journey in community. As a woman, I trusted her advice, which she gave very sparingly. She never told people what to do, but she offered encouragement. She offered a listening ear, and she offered that to me in my professional and my personal life. And I think overall, her leadership was not just in public, but also in private. And she was a woman of faith. She was a woman of family. She was a woman of community. And she had so much potential to offer. And I feel it's a great loss to the world that Urge is no longer with us in this way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toltu, for those really moving words. Yeah, it really is a great loss to the world that she's no longer with us. It's such an honor to hear about how much she meant to all of you here. Marotu, if you're ready, we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Soreti, and thank you, Dee and Toltu, for the beautiful words that you shared about Urge. Well, my friendship with Urge blossomed during the revival of the Oromo protest digital movement in 2020. It started off with many early morning and late night calls, with, a 14 to 16 hour time difference. At odd hours of the day, we were orchestrating online campaigns and social media posts. And, when you talk to someone first thing in the morning and the last thing before you go to sleep, it fosters a kind of closeness. And so we got to know each other pretty quickly on a personal level. Over the next 3.5 years, we became close friends, and we formed like a Sinke circle, as we called it, our small group of international adoyes. We regularly spent 8 or more hours on video calls, sharing secrets, sharing life's challenges, and sharing our dreams for the future. I remember one day in particular, we had been on almost an 11-hour video call, and I was just trying to explain to someone why or how I had been on a call that long. And, you can't, who needs to catch up with their friend for an entire day? But all I can say is that those conversations were like food for the soul. And that is in a large part due to the light that was Urge. Of course, we shared news with each other. We shared updates. We had, common interests in terms of the Oromo community, and, we discussed politics and all those kinds of things. But more importantly than that, we shared our personal joys with each other. We shared our fears, oftentimes things that we didn't really feel comfortable discussing with other people. In a lot of ways, Urge was like the big sister that I never had. She was wise beyond her years. She always gave the best advice and just always seemed to know what to say. I can think of several occasions where she was the person that I called when something went wrong or when I didn't know what to do. And, because she was towards the end of her pregnancy and halfway around the world, she wasn't able to attend my wedding, but she helped me plan it because, she was in a number of aspects, she was a couple steps ahead of me in life. And she just was always so generous with her time, with her kind words, her support. She, experienced things with you as if it was all new to her, even if she'd done it all before. Cheering me on from across the world with anything that I was doing. I remember when Urge shared with us the news of her pregnancy. We were on a WhatsApp video call, and she surprised us by showing us the photo of her ultrasound, and she was just so happy and full of excitement. And we were so thrilled for her, just like screams of joy from all around the world. And I remember telling her on multiple occasions that she was just going to be the best mother, because that's just the kind of person that she is. She has all the qualities that would make her the most wonderful mother. And, despite how things unfolded in the time that she had, she was the best mother. She went out of her way to set her baby girl up for success, and did everything in her power to, she took that responsibility of bringing life into the world very seriously. And for anyone who doesn't know Urge personally, you should know that she was just like the best kind of person. That's the best way I can describe it. She was incredibly caring and thoughtful. If you asked Urge how she's doing, she was so quick to shift and ask how you're doing, showing curiosity about the other person and always making you feel seen. She was hilarious. She just had like the best witty sense of humor, and the best laugh. And yeah, she was honest and pure, and hesitant to speak ill of anyone, regardless of the circumstances. In her community, Urge was a thought leader, someone that people would come to for input and advice. She was also practically a leader and taking action without hesitation, showing others the path. And, we know this through all of her, endeavors and all of the tangible things that we see, the fruits of her labor. She was the person that anyone would want to include on a project to make sure it was a success. And I think, the whole community sees her in that way. But overall, she was just a phenomenal person all around. And, this world won't be the same without you, Urge. Thank you.
Wow, so beautiful, Marartu. Really thank you for sharing so vulnerably, so intimately about all those really special moments that you got to witness with Urge. Angatu, another member also of this same Sikh Air Circle. We'll hear from you next.
Thank you, Sureti, and thank you, Dee and Tolto and Maro for expressing so beautifully what Urge meant to so many of us. I'd first like to take a moment to express my most heartfelt, my deepest condolences to Urge's family, to her husband, to her mother and her father, her sister, her extended family, and everyone else in the community who have suffered the immense pain of this loss. Urge, where does one begin? Urge is one of the most fantastic women I have ever known. I first got to know Urge after the assassination of Hachalu Hundesa, and we were involved together in the We Are We campaign that was organized by the Diaspora Oromo Protests Collective, and led by our very own Marartu. And my first impressions of her were amazing. I was enamored from the very beginning. Her personality just embraces you, engulfs you. And once you've been connected with Urge, it's impossible to ever let go. Urge and I have worked on various Kapso-related projects together. And I was always in such awe of her brilliance, her versatility, and her utmost dedication. Urge committed herself without reservation to anything that she believed in. And seeing that kind of dedication and commitment up close was deeply inspiring, deeply motivating. And I feel so privileged to have been able to fight alongside such a wonderful woman, such a powerful woman, such an enigmatic woman in the struggle. as we got to know each other more, we became friends, and we formed a tight-knit circle of Oromo women from across the world, as Marantu described, our little Sikhe circle. And these women are like sisters from afar to me. And Urge was also like an older sister to me as well. And as a friend, she brought such a sense of safety and comfort. You could trust her entirely. You could depend on her entirely. She just brought such warmth. And she was deeply thoughtful and wise. Her wisdom guided me on numerous occasions and helped me settle various issues, both internal and external, in my life. And I always turned to her for thoughtful, meaningful, just perfect advice at every single turn. And I feel at such a loss about her now, knowing that I will be able to turn to her again in moments of difficulty. But the wisdom that she shared, that she imparted, is still there. And that wisdom will now be up to me and to us to apply in our lives, so that we can do what Urge would have said. And something I deeply admired about Urge was the sense of purpose that she had in everything that she did, whether it be in her contributions to the struggle, whether it be in her career, whether it be in her personal life and relationships. She acted with meaning and intention in everything that she did. And that sense of purpose emanated far beyond her physical environment. We felt it across the world. We have friends, those of us who were in community with her locally and across borders, across continents. We have all sensed and admired that sense of purpose that Urge had, and that sense of purpose that she led with, because she truly was a leader. Urge's laughter, something I remember so warmly, was her laughter. It was rapturous, it was embracing, it felt like a warm hug. It was joy itself when she laughed. And I'm going to miss hearing that laughter. I'm really, really going to miss hearing her laughter. But I will forever carry it with me in my heart. And I mean, we could never, ever exhaustively describe how incredible Urge was. It would be impossible. And it feels like I'm not doing her justice. We're not doing her justice by not expressing, the minutiae of her brilliance as a person, and of her character. But what certainly will be the case is that we all carry that knowledge with us in our hearts and our minds. And our task now is to apply everything that she has taught us in our lives, in our work, in our communities, and in our dedication to the struggle. We are obligated to take her as an example, and we are obligated to carry her legacy forward And that will be the most meaningful way that we can honor her life in this world, and how we can continue to keep her legacy alive. Yeah.
Thank you, Angatu. I know this is not easy, so I really admire and want to acknowledge and pay real deep respect to the courage that you are all showing here to remember her, because this remembrance is a collective remembrance, something that we're all participating in, and it really does impact the strength that every community, every person that knew her is going to be able to find within themselves to move on, and not move on, but to continue to live, but also to like really embody her legacy and what she left of her spirit with us. Elela, last but not least, let's hear from you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I would like to start by sharing my deepest and heartfelt condolences to Abba Urge and Hada Urge, her sister Agartu, her husband Mills, and her extended family, aunts and uncles, cousins, her friends, both near and far. This loss has been undescribable. Losing Urge has been, if I could describe it with a one word, a nightmare. And I just hope and pray that all her family and friends feel the comforting hands of God over them through this difficult time. I have known Urge since about, let's say, 2015 or 16. Through Oromo protests, of course. I had admired her from afar because of her commitment and dedication to the cause and all the work that she put in, and how she just had this amazing dedication to her people. She was born and raised abroad, and she could speak Afan very fluently, and she would advocate for our people day and night. And I looked up to her and really learned a lot from her. We became closer as the years went by, and especially as Maro and Angatu were saying during the second round of Oromo protests after Hachalu's assassination. We spent a lot of hours together working on Guyara in the beginning, and then after that, when we were working in various projects to advocate for our people. And that time was, as you all can remember, a very particularly difficult time for all of us. And when I think, things were falling apart, I remember her being so strong and being a shoulder to lean on. And that was also how we ended up with our CK circle. With her, Maro, and Angatu. And in the beginning, of course, we talked a lot about politics, about everything that was going on back home, but slowly and surely we started sharing about our personal lives. leaning on each other about everything and anything, picking on each other's brains about, what would you do in this circumstance? And she would come up with these, amazing advices every time. Like you could bring anything to her and she would literally sit with you and talk to you and figure things out with you. And I remember last year when I wished her happy birthday, I said to her, of the many words that come to me to describe you, if there was one word, I would use the word gorsitu. Gorsitu in Afan Oromo means advisor. And that was what she was like. She would listen and advise you through hardship of life. Like she would sit with you through everything. And I was even thinking, like, I want to talk to her right now, how to even deal with this. And like Maro was saying, we would spend hours talking. I mean, I even once jokingly said to her, because we would spend so many hours together on the phone or on Zoom. We would have birthday get-togethers. We would have our monthly calls in. Not a day went by without texting each other. It was just like we were in each other's daily lives. And she was so cheeky and funny. I remember, like, we used to break out in Afan Oromo songs, like old gospel songs that we knew. Whenever something good happened, or whenever we wanted to point something out. And at one point, through singing these songs, one day we found out that my mother and her aunt used to be in the same Oromo circle group back home, an Oromo Christian women's group together. And we used to say, this is like our version of that in a way. Like the Oromo women's circle, that is. And jokingly we would say, like, do you think we'll be like them when we get older? We'll talk like them, the way they speak Afan Oromo? Like, do you think we will be like them one day? So, losing her at this moment, it's just like, it's just so... It just makes it so difficult. I'm sorry that I'm not so... I wish I could be so... Like, if you can cut this part.
Okay. Elela, thank you so much for opening up your heart, for sharing so vulnerably. This is not easy.
So if I could describe in one word what Urge was to her community, to her friends, and to her family, I would say literally everything. She was everything to everyone she met. She was a wonderful daughter to her parents, a wonderful, loving sister to Agartu, a loving friend to all of us sitting here and all her other friends, and a wonderful wife to her husband, Mills, a wonderful mother to her daughter. She was planning everything for her daughter, like from the day that she knew she was pregnant, or even before that. She was a mother to be, like, through her village school project. She was mothering so many Oromo kids, and now she was going to become a mother and have her own little one. So I would say she was everything to everyone, and navigating this life without her is not going to be easy.
Thank you so much, Alila, again, and thank you all. I just want to give one more opportunity to anybody who would like to say anything else, particularly related to how best do we remember Urge when we think about her character, her life's work, belief systems, her approaches to people and society. What can we do, or who do we become to continue to illuminate everything that she taught us through our own lives?
Can I share, if that's all right?
Please do, please, yeah.
So being with Urge over the years, one Bible scripture that she always quoted, I believe it was one of her favorites, and it was from the book of Micah chapter 6, verse 8. This scripture is something that she always quoted, and it was to compel people to act in times of injustice. And the Bible verse quotes, "Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God." And I think that was her purpose on this earth, to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. And I think that was her why. That was her reason why she existed. And I when I preparing for this, that scripture that she always quoted was basically what she's been doing this whole time. And I think about, like from my life, standing up for me, that was something that she was always, she didn't just stand up for me, she stood up for me, my family, my parents, the young Pacific Islanders that we were part of within the life group, all the way to Fiji. She was encouraging young people in Fiji as well. I remember when they asked both of us to come to this school and speak to young Fijian children, and she pulled out the best way she could. She knew how to encourage them was to pull out the Bible. We stood there and we just encouraged all the school children, high school kids, and for me, I really feel like she lived that life of humility and just mercy and showing love and justice. Not just, I feel like, it was across the board, all the way to the Pacific Island. So I think that's something that I feel like I can take away and just continue, living out that life, that purpose of showing justice to others.
So beautiful, Dee. Thank you so much for that. Friends, anybody else like to add anything to this question?
I think that's a perfect way of describing Urge's purpose, Dee. Thank you for sharing that. Similarly, I think we can remember Urge by taking action, not in ways that serve our own interests or our ego, but in ways that genuinely help to push our community and our cause forward. And by thinking critically, not only about what's around us, but even about our own selves, and looking inward and making sure that our intentions are in the right place in that work.
I think in that way, Urge still with us, all of us. And I think she lives on in the experience that we have of her, the projects that we engaged in. Sharing her story, I think, will be very, very powerful. And I think embracing her values. And she was very famed for her work in the community. She was famed around the world. So many people mourned her loss. But I think at the core of everything, she really, really believed in her faith. She was a woman of faith, and she was a woman of family, and she loved her husband very much. She loved the fact that she was going to be a mother. She had not just respect but awe for her parents and wished she could do what they could do for herself with her daughter. Her sister was like her twin. They honestly looked like twins too. They were so close. It was more than sisterhood what they shared. And so I think taking what she had for them, she just shared it with the rest of the world. And so in that way, she was a trailblazer. She was a leader. And admittedly, I've never been to church. Oh, I have been to church with Urge, but not to worship. But I will say there is one quote of hers that she said really signified so much importance to her. And it was a quote by Dr. Maya Angelou. And I think I'll end it on that because it really represents what Urge stood for. And she said that, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And so I think Urge has left her mark on the world, not with what she said and not with what she's done, which of course was huge and monumental, but it's the way she left people feeling that I think still stays with us and keeps her alive as we speak here today.
So powerful, all of you. Thank you. There is no strict expectation to share on this question, but I will just prompt Elela and Angatu, if you do want to share, take this opportunity. If not, I can move towards closing.
Wait, am I frozen? Can you hear me?
I think you're okay now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Toto, that resounded deeply. That quote that you gave from Maya Angelou. I really do remember everything about how Urge made me feel. And so to echo what Tortu and Dee and Maro have said, I think the best thing that we can do to carry Urge's legacy forward is to be to others, be to the world what Urge was to us, what Urge was to her community, what Urge was to her friends, to her family, what Urge was to the struggle, to embody her character, embody her commitment, her dedication, embody her wisdom, because I deeply believe that she has left a piece of herself in all of us. She has left a piece of her wisdom in all of us. And so it's our role to bring that forth and share that with the world around us, and keep Urge's spirit alive as it is alive in what she left behind in this world.
Thank you, Angatu. Elelako, would you like to share?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything these ladies have said, Dee, Totu, Maro, and Angatu. I think the best way we can honor her is by staying in the lives of those that are near and dear to her, especially her parents, her sister, her husband, and most importantly, her beautiful baby daughter. it is through supporting the realization of her humanitarian effort, the Village School Project, and also continuing her work in the quest for justice for our people. I think that is one thing that she would definitely want us to continue on. And like you mentioned, all of you, she was a woman of faith. And I would say through living life of faith, love, commitment, and service, we can honor her life. And through navigating this life through grace, we can honor her legacy.
Thank you so much, Adela, and thank you all for giving us a glimpse into the large legacy of Urge Dinagde. Friends, each of your stories and testimonies so profoundly expresses the life and beauty and impact that Urge lived. If I can share just a little bit about my relationship to Urge. She was amongst a handful of people whom I grew up watching in awe and as really a point of inspiration for who I could become and who I wanted to become. I remember right after Haj Abla's assassination, around the time where everyone here has mentioned that through the organizing efforts and the time spent together, we all developed different degrees of relationship. I remember really specifically coming into the studio where we all filmed this video to raise awareness about that political moment. And I was so angry and I was so grieved. And we all were, like no one felt any less of this grief or anger. But I remember when Urge came into the room, the way that that anger and the way that that pain manifested in my heart and my body shifted, because in her, it was there, it was present, but she was so grounded in a sense of calm and in a sense of clarity. And she had such a powerful way of directing her emotions into action that you couldn't help but also find that strength within you when you're in her presence. She was never desensitized to pain or injustice, but never did she let despair and oppression weaken her. Rather, she stood powerful and tall in the face of it all, teaching others, including myself, how to do the same. Everywhere she went, she exuded hope, strength, and love. I also want to take this moment to extend my and ours collective on this program, and that also of the Oromia Media Network's deepest condolences to the direct family of Urge, to her parents, to her sibling, Agartu, and also to her husband, Milion, and to the entire community in Australia and beyond that has been affected by this loss. Urge, we love you, we miss you, and we thank you for everything that you were for us and everything you will continue to teach us to be. Thank you all for watching.